I mean, let's talk about the Special Forces first. How did you get into that?
Well, I was never a very good parade ground soldier. I mean, I know you're supposed to be as a Royal Marine. And I was never good at the discipline bit. I can tell this story, can't I? When I joined up as a young Royal Marine officer, we were taught discipline. I wasn't a very disciplined young man either, because I've been living by myself basically since I was 16, with the help of an actress in London for the last year of that period. And I joined up. The discipline really irked me. I remember one day my drill sergeant came. He discovered there were more than the regulation 3 pieces of lavatory paper in my kit. And his words, which I shall never forget, he said, 3 bits of shithouse paper, young sir, that's all your arsehole needs. 1 up, 1 down, and 1 to polish.
Charming.
So you may imagine, I think we don't publish that on the website.
That's going to be the highlight so far.
So you may imagine that this slightly irked me. And I wasn't very good at parades. I kept on tripping my own feet, over my own feet. And so I suddenly discovered that Special Forces, you could wear strange clothes, do interesting things, and not be subject to discipline too. I know it was just the obvious place for me to go.
What was the most dangerous situation you found yourself in?
I think, I mean, first of all, whenever we went on operation, I used to operate on the basis that I never go on operations with anybody who was not as frightened as I was. Because if you go on operations and you're not frightened, you're very, very dangerous. So every operation we went on was one you took very, very seriously. I think the time, I suppose, when you're closest to, if something goes wrong, then you're dead, is climbing up the outside of a submerged submarine at night on a breathing tube that goes inside the submarine, waiting for the submarine to tell you when you can pop to the surface and go ashore and do your operation and then come back again. Because if the submarine hits a bit of fresh water and starts to dive, you're dead. If you lose your breathing machine, your breathing line that's the submarine in the middle of the night, the same thing happens. So all those operations which you're working right at the very edge of what is technically possible to do, to swim 6,000 or 7,000 yards ashore and then do an operation and come back, it's operating right and I'm really fascinated by this interesting thing was how can you make the laws of possibility, of what is thought to be humanly possible, how can you stretch them by the use of teamwork, a little courage, and high technology, and that's what we were doing. I suppose the most individually dangerous time was crawling up a beach and on a part of the Indonesian archipelago where we shouldn't have been, and suddenly discovering that there was a sentry coming walking towards me. And I was completely hopeless. We were equipped with these things, these silenced pistols called well-rod pistols. And there was World War II pistols, and you fired one shot, and by the way, I'm an appalling pistol shot. If you put a target, if you give me a target and a pistol, the safest place to be is the target, because I know. So I was armed with one of these silenced pistols, and I had one thought, and if I fired at him, even though it was silenced, I'd almost certainly miss. So the only thing I could do was lie there, and he walked past me, and didn't see me. And if you lie still at night, actually, it's quite difficult to see somebody. So I suppose that's... Can we get on to something more serious?
No, I've got one more question on this. People always refer to you in the House of
Commons.
Commons.
It's not nearly as dangerous as being standard Prime Minister's questions, let me tell you.
No, we'll come on to that in a bit.
All right.
But you were often referred to as a trained killer. Did you actually ever kill anyone?
I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't know. Clay Freud, the much lamented and much missed Clay Freud, used to say, Paddy Ashdown is the only member in the House of Commons who's been trained to kill, because Mrs. Thatcher was self-taught.